All right, joining me now is Colonel Rob Maness. Colonel has a show here on World YouTube every day at 2 p.m. Central, 3 Eastern. And of course, we all know what happened over the weekend, and we did a lengthy panel on Saturday night, went on the air live Saturday night to talk about it. He brings us an update tonight on Brannon Howse Live. Colonel, as always, thank you for being with us.
Hi, Brandon.
Great to have you with us.
Good to be back.
All right, what's the latest? We had rockets shot at one of our bases today. They got knocked down. President Trump says it was kind of a weak response, but now he's ready for world peace. He tweeted something like that.
That's because the Iranians called him and told him. Not just the Qataris, as we were talking about earlier, got a call, but the president got a call and said, we're doing this to respond to you, but we're not targeting specifically, occupied spaces, and we're giving you a heads up so that we can preserve our opportunity for peace. But it sounded like to him. That's why he posted it. Yeah, that's it. There it is.
All right.
Now, having said that, we conducted and pulled off the greatest deception operation against an enemy of any country by any country when we achieved tactical surprise with those B-2 bombers the other night. I don't trust the Iranians as far as I can spit them, Brandon. I've been dealing with these jokers since I was 17 years old. I've lost friends and colleagues to them. I don't know how many colleagues and friends I lost in the Iraq war with the explosively foreign projectiles that they moved in there. And I don't trust them as far as I could spit them. So I love this, that it looks like the president's strategy is working, but we got to beware because they just may be trying to pay us back with another deception operation. So we need to be paying attention as he goes through this process.
So in other words, Colonel, Iran could be saying, hey, look, we got to save face, so we have to do something. We gave you a heads up. We called that country. We called you. We did a little thing. You knocked it down, and President Trump is like, it was weak, but now it's peace. That could have all been a ruse to make everybody think Iran took its punches, did a little bit to save face, but didn't do any damage by giving us a heads up. It's all over now. But reality is they're about to hit big time somewhere we never expect.
Very possible. It's happened before. Very possible. Don't forget, these are the people that killed over 200 Marines with one bombing in Beirut. I mean, this is the same mindset. That mindset and those people aren't gone yet. So that's.
And we
one
also
issue.
have been told that by some guys and gals, former CIA operations officer has been on the show many times saying that those Saudis on 9/11 were allowed to go into Iran and practice on flight simulators and did not have their passports stamped so that they would not throw a red flag when they were getting their passports to come into the U.S. to carry out 9/11. So if that's...
Deception and subterfuge is their mode of operation.
If that's true, Iran was involved in 9/11 then, right?
Potentially, if that's true. I've never heard of that, though.
Oh, you haven't?
No, I have not heard of that. And I was on the team that investigated who came after us. I saw the intelligence anyway.
Yeah, that's been put out there by CIA operations officer Claire Lopez many times on my show. And
I never saw it.
Yeah.
I never saw it.
And I can't validate it because I'm just reporting what she's reported for years.
Yeah.
But if that is the case, Iran and their ability to do things, this should concern us. Here is from 2007. Iran's push into Nicaragua. 2007 by Todd Bensman, who thankfully is now the senior advisor to Tom Homan, the border czar. You guys all know I had Todd on about once a week for, a few years and was in the studio. He was in the studio in November. It was at our conference a year ago in the Ozarks. Here's Todd in 2007 warning about Iran's push into Nicaragua. He has another one. You guys remember this? Back in 2018, part one of a three-part series on Hezbollah's Unit 910 in America. That is an assassination squad of Iran to go after Iranian dissidents in the U.S. and critics. He was warning about this assassination squad, Unit 910, from Iran being here in the U.S. back in 2018. I'll have the Colonel comment on that when we come back. His website is robmaness.com. You hear him each and every day right here on Worldview Tube at 2 Central, 3 Eastern, worldviewtube.com. We'll be right back with a response from the Colonel.
I'll tell you one little quick story. We had a Worldview Weekend client who lived in California, lost their house. Very wealthy guy. He didn't use Bitcoin. He came over here, drove to Arizona with $286,000 worth of his gold because he had no money and no house available. His banks were shut down because he couldn't have access to his bank account.
Was this during the fire? Was this during the fires?
During the fire. Didn't have his driver's license. He lost it. The state wouldn't give him a new license because he had no active mailing address. Real mess. So he came to Arizona to buy a house. He's moving everything over. He said, the only thing I got in my possession that I can get liquid with right now is my gold. I gave him a check for $286,000, and guess what? I didn't need his social, his driver's license. Sort of smiled, and I said, you know, I know you and Brannon talked about how this worked, but boy, this is great. I feel good. I got my money. Nobody bothered me, and I'm protected, and it's private. So you people out there who are sitting on your hands when Wes and I are sending you these requests and Brannon and you are talking to you, you better get active because you're going to pay me $4,000 an ounce the end of the year. Trust me.
You better get your. I highly suggest you get your free packet. You don't have to do anything. It's free, no obligation. Just simply go to worldviewgold.com, fill out the form, worldviewgold.com, or just text Wes and give him your name and address and say, I want the free packet. That's all you got to do. 602-558-8585, 602-558-8585. Hey, don't forget, each and every day, I take it, each and every day, this powerful elixir, Bella Grace, been taking it since December of 2023. 3 powerful ingredients: collagen, cat's claw, that's an anti-inflammatory, and astaxanthin, that crosses the brain-blood barrier, takes on the free radicals. And the collagen is high-end collagen. Peptides cut short, so your body absorbs it. Whereas a lot of the collagen studies show you're flushing it down the toilet, about 95%. Studies show you absorb 95% of this because it's high-end collagen with the peptides cut short, so your body actually absorbs it, right? I tell you all the time, hands aren't cracked and bleeding. Haven't taken a Pepcid since December of 2023. Acid reflux is gone. Hair growth is amazing. I mean, the gal has to keep using the thinning shears. That's something I never thought would ever come back in my life. Using thinning shears because it's too thick. The hair on the sides gets so thick, you got to use thinning shears. Are you kidding me? I mean, this is not a joke. I know it firsthand. Many of you do. We have so many of you that have a subscription to this, and you keep it. And you say, I don't know what I'd do if I couldn't get this anymore because, well, your problems, whatever they are, many of them different than mine, have been fixed. And you don't want to be without this. So why would so many people in our audience have a subscription if it didn't work? Why would they keep buying it month after month? They wouldn't. Neither would I, nor would I promote it. Because if it doesn't work, I'm not promoting it. My credibility is too important. This has 80 clinical trials. 80 clinical trials. It's the real deal. MelissaHouseBG.com for full details. MelissaHouseBG.com. Colonel Rob Maness is back. Colonel, the article from 2010 by our buddy Todd Bensman, who's now senior advisor to Border Czar Tom Homan, warning about Iran's assassination squads, Unit 910 in the U.S. This is something that he's been talking about for years. We've been talking about with him, talking about terror cells of other kinds here in the country. And now finally it made it to the top this weekend, right? Finally, pounding the desk all last week. Where's the talk about warning the American people about the terror cells? Kristi Noem gave a very straightforward 3.5-minute press Q&A time today. Very straightforward. She's concerned and she's monitoring these and being briefed regularly. This is still all on the table. And I'm particularly concerned, Colonel, about the soft targets of big fireworks displays come July 4th. The thing about July 4th is you not only have a lot of people in soft target areas, but you have all of this noise, all of that noise to cover. And you know how long it would take for people other than those, sadly, who would be on the receiving end of the shots? Do you know how long it would take for authorities to figure out what is all that in the midst of fireworks, particularly the grand finale, which often lasts several minutes and are computerized? I mean, that would be very difficult to even hear and recognize and realize what's happening. It would be such a, it would throw even the trained law enforcement would have, with the sounds of explosive bouncing off buildings or hills. This really concerns me. I'm really praying for our country come July 4th. It seems dangerous, but we're going to pray nothing happens. Yeah. It comes and goes. But I guess the point I'm making is Americans need to be vigilant, which is why we were so busy pounding the table on this last week. And finally, Kash Patel and others came out and started talking about it, thankfully. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm glad they started talking about it finally. I've been talking about it for years.
Yes.
And my guests have been talking about it for years. You know, I started my career as a bomb disposal technician, and I've been fighting terrorism since I was 17 years old. And we know they're here. You know, just yesterday, the news broke that CBP, Customs and Border Patrol, rolled up over 1,500 Iranians coming through during the Biden years, and they let 458 of them loose to stay inside the country. So not one of those people could ever be trusted to not be on a sleeper cell. The Chinese military-age male problem, and we know the communists and the Islamists are in an alliance together naturally, so they're going to help each other, and there are hundreds of thousands of them by some estimates that came through the Biden open border that are unmonitored and untracked and running loose around here. They're not here for free, for nothing, and they're not here to be Americans for sure, because there aren't that many that would be able to get out of communist China at one time without the government letting them out. So something's potentially up. The risk is high. I'm glad they elevated the terrorist threat level. I think they should keep it up through the July 4th weekend, no matter what happens with peace. And I'm all for it. I think the president is flawlessly and masterfully implementing his vision of American peace through strength with what's going on here. Look, you know, when we're talking about it, we don't talk from the perspective that it might fail. We talk from the perspective of, are these questions being answered before the decision's made to put American kids in harm's way? What are the potential unintended consequences? What are the potential second and third order effects by a specific set of actions? We talk about those because the American people should be informed, and we don't always get that from our government, but we can give it to them. We folks that have this experience, and we should give it to them, not to scare them, but to give them the facts so that they know what to be prepared for. And in this case, they need to be exercising their Second Amendment rights to the maximum extent of the law. And take the time this weekend on July 4th to write your congressman and your U.S. senator and the president of the United States and plead with them to repeal every gun law that restricts me from being able to carry my firearm into any area in the United States. I just went to Washington, D.C. in the swamp last week, and that's the most uncomfortable place I ever go, is because I cannot even carry a magazine without any rounds in it into that place without being arrested. And you cannot get a concealed carry permit unless you're a resident and you have the time to go over to the office once a week to encourage them and cajole them and to get it doing their job. So every law that restricts me from being able to carry a firearm in this country should be repealed. Every single law. If you're worried about security, do security so you know who's carrying armed when they come into a building. That's it. I'm an American citizen, and I have a right to defend my country, and I have a duty to defend my country. And everybody this 4th of July thinking about this elevated terrorism level should be thinking that way, because my head's going to be on a swivel. I'm going to be looking for people that are watching and looking for people like me, armed and ready. That's who they are. That's what they look like. You can spot them fairly easily.
Yeah, wow, well said. Colonel, minutes are getting away from us, but I have to ask, am I wrong when I look at the CCP or North Korea or any of these other countries that don't like us? Not to mention you got drug cartels, you got gangs, the communist regime of Venezuela. How do we know? I guess we don't know, but what is the likelihood, I should say, that one of these countries or groups could carry out a terrorist attack on soft targets on 4th of July around the country and blame it on Iran
Absolutely.
in order to get us going? In other words, when two groups are fighting at each other, stand back and watch, if not help, right? So what if Iran's like, okay, we're not really in a position to do much. We haven't activated our terror cells. Maybe we've lost communication with them, whatever it might be. But what if, so let's just assume we just take Iran right off the table. Let's just assume damage has been done. They're not going to do this. They've lost communications for now or whatever it might be. Iran's off the table. But some other actor comes along and says, but this would be a great time to carry out a terrorist attack and blame it on Iran, because President Trump has already said, if you come against us, Iran, you damage us, you hurt or kill any Americans, you're going to feel the weight of the federal government like you've never felt before when it comes to our military. Well, there he's already said it in print. So how do we know that one of these actors doesn't set up a false flag, if you will?
You don't know. That's why you can't respond too rapidly, especially with terrorist attacks. You have to get the information together and get the intelligence. Look, the Communist Chinese Party, the CCP, is in a declared people's war against us. They have been practicing unrestricted warfare on us for several years, since at least 2019. That's why they're buying land. That's why they sent all these Chinese military-age mills, and that's why we find secret bio labs that are growing viruses and diseases that could be used as bioweapons right here within our own country. That's why we roll up and arrest Chinese operatives flying drones over our shipyards, our harbor in Norfolk, Virginia, where the aircraft carriers for the Atlantic Fleet are all at, or out west. It's at Vandenberg, where we fire our intercontinental ballistic missiles and our hypersonic missile programs for testing and readiness testing. That's where we've arrested them at. So they're here. And of course, they would try to do that. The Chinese are masters at deception and misdirection and the art of warfare without going directly head on kinetically against a adversary that outguns them, and that we currently still outgun them. That's why they're behaving that way. They would love the opportunity, and I'm sure they're looking at it right now to see how they could pull it off if it turns out the Iranians do want peace and they pull back their sleeper cells.
So the 100,000 military-age CCP males are here. They could be activated. They do something. It gets blamed on Iran, however they choose to lay evidence to do such. And now America goes and gets fully involved in the Middle East. Doesn't that then open up the window? People say, well, what would be the motive for China? Well, if we go get fully involved in the Middle East, that opens up the window more now for China to run after Taiwan while our assets are all over there in the Middle East, correct?
Yeah. And unfortunately, we can't even trust our own people. Senator Lindsey Graham's on the Senate floor right now, at this moment, advocating for regime change in Iran to continue this and upsell the president of the United States to put American boots on the ground there. He's on the floor right now. You can't even trust their own people not to try to pull off something like what you're describing.
Well, then that means you have to wonder about the CIA doing it.
Of course. Unfortunately, confidence is extremely low in our institutions in the United States of America. And it's not because of the citizens' fault. It's because of the bad actors that we've seen in government over the last at least 20 years. And some would say, Roger Stone would say, since 1963. When they killed President John F. Kennedy.
That's exactly right. RobManess.com, RobManess.com. He's on each and every day at worldyoutube.com. Gordon Chang put out the bombing of a church in Syria yesterday killed 25. We should follow the money to find out who perpetrated this heinous act. Many observers believe a foreign power was responsible. Let's pray we don't see any of that here in the country, that nothing happens. We all have a peaceful and restful 4th of July. But it would be It would be irresponsible not to call on the American people to be ever vigilant. And that's what we've done tonight. Not trying to scare people, but trying to prepare people. Listen to him each and every day, 3 p.m., 2 p.m. Central, 3 Eastern. Rob Maness broadcast right here on Worldview Tube, robmaness.com. You can follow him on X as well. What is your handle on X, Colonel?
Rob Maness on X, on Facebook, on Getter, and on Substack. If you type in Colonel's Brief, you can go to my Substack and you can get all the shows at all of those locations I upload.
Awesome. Thank you, Colonel, as always, for being with us.
Thank you, Brandon.
Appreciate
God bless America.
Amen to that. All right, folks, you appreciate what we're doing here? Look at all we push out. We were live on the air for 2 hours on Saturday evening. So again, that was 2 hours last Saturday, 2 hours on Sunday last Sunday, 2 hours this past Saturday. I mean, I was on last night teaching my lesson through the book of Revelation. So we've been going a couple weeks now, 7 days a week. Is there a duck or a frog in here? Or did Dolly just walk into the studio with a squeaky toy? Dolly, come here. The audience, we get so many letters. We'll go get your squeaky toy. Come on up here. We get so many letters. People saying, we love seeing Dolly. We love to see Dolly. We get so many letters. Yep. So there you go. Folks, we love for you to support us, won't you? Before we go, we're going to a break, come back with another guest. We'd love to have your support, folks. Can you go there? worldviewtube.com/sponsors, because look how busy we are. Oh, how can you say no to those sweet kisses? Those sweet kisses. worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. All Dolly approved and endorsed. You approve all these, don't you? Yes, you do. Please help us keep the network going. Our studio dog Dolly comes in and out at will. And apparently you brought in a squeaky toy. I just heard it. I don't see it, but I heard it. So there you go. She makes an appearance. For all those who tell my wife, who does customer support, how much they love seeing Dolly. There she is. There she goes. They know what she's doing. But thanks again for your support. We'll be right back after this break.
A lot of people are having great success with a weight management program with Bella Trim, but it's just a tool. In terms of ingredients, Chromex or chromium picolinate improves the actions of insulin, so you have better glucose management, and in addition, it promotes fat utilization. Fat utilization or fat burning is also a feature of metabolite, which are two botanicals that stimulate a switch called AMP kinase. And so you tend to burn fat, reduce belly fat or visceral fat. Who doesn't want that? Metabolite has the ability to stimulate satiety or reduce those cravings. That's really very, very important. And it does that by raising GLP-1 levels. In addition, we've addressed the microbiome by using prebiotics. Healthier microbiome, better weight management.
My story started with alcohol, and I had tried going to other treatments, and all I did was think about how I was not going to drink or how I was going to drink one more day and then stop the next day. And Katie had found a treatment. I thought it was kind of hokey.
I could see a couple days into it, it's like the light bulb went on with him.
It's an IV infusion of all natural NAD. It saved my life and my family.
We've been where you sit.
The hardest part of this is making that phone call and just come in and talk to us.